this is the first time after doing all of the sensor checks, making sure that the e-throttle is calibrated and everything. This is the first time we actually try and crank the engine to see what happens. Now, initially, I thought that this sounded like it was spinning a little slow, like the battery was a little weak. So I grab a charger, try and get a decent charge on the battery, put a jumper pack along with it, just to make sure we have good starting power for the next attempt. So I didn't know it at the time, but it turns out we had a stuck fuel injector, well, a couple of stuck fuel injectors actually, that was causing this issue. Luckily, the Link guys have a support forum, and they are very, very helpful. I posted up a question asking for some advice, and they responded back in 45 minutes from New Zealand, I think is where they are, to try and help me. So unfortunately, this day was a bust, but I take their advice, and we come back the next day to try again. So here we are back the next day, ready to try the suggestions made by Link. This is a plug-and-play ECU, so it should start right away. However, there is one significant difference between this setup and the regular S2000 setup, and that's the fact that we're using that Bosch Motorsports e-throttle. So this ECU and this engine was originally cable throttle, but we took that out because we knew we were going to run e-throttle, and so the basic setup and calibration for that was right, but essentially what happened was all of the idle settings were a little bit messed up, so that's why it wouldn't start. Well, in addition to the stuck fuel injectors, which we got all cleaned up. And we now have a running engine. Now, unfortunately, it isn't running exactly right, so everything fired up, as you can hear, everything's great, but it does rev straight to 3,000 RPMs and hit some sort of fuel cut, and, you know, and basically I shut it down very quickly after that. So I try my hand a handful of times, adjusting the e-throttle settings, adjusting the idle settings, to try and get it to come down, and I did manage to get the RPM to come down a little bit, but ultimately there's definitely something else wrong with the calibration. So what I'm doing here is just starting it a couple of times, taking some logs, and getting everything packaged up to respond back to Link on their forums to try and get another suggestion. So at this point, the engine fires right up and idles pretty good. We still need to tweak some of the idle settings to get it smoother, but there's all sorts of stuff that we're going to need to do. So I just want to get it on a good idling state, being able to free rev to get it ready for the dyno. I want to run it through several heat cycles. I want to check for leaks and do all that other stuff so we don't have to mess with that on the dyno. So I do keep adjusting the idle settings and do get it to idle right at about 900 RPM, which is great. And yeah, so now it's just a matter of getting a few heat cycles, getting a little bit of street time with it just to make sure that everything's okay, and then getting it prepped.